God who was, we worship the God who is, we worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors, He parted the raging sea. My God, He holds the victory. Yeah. There's joy in the house of the Lord, there's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Oh, we shout out your praise. We sing to the God who heals, we sing to the God who saves, we sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause He hung up on that cross, then He rose up from that grave. My God, still rolling stones away. There's joy in the house of the Lord, there's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. 'Cause we were the beggars, and now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, and now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. 'Cause we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord, there's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord, there's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Oh, we shout out your praise. There's joy in the South Korea. There's joy, there's joy, and we won't be quiet. We're gonna shout out your praise. All right, everyone, let's take this time to meet and greet.
Vast as the ocean, loving kindness as the flood. When the Prince of Life, our ransom, shed for us His precious blood, who His love will not remember, who can cease to sing His praise? He will never be forgotten throughout heaven's eternal day. On the mount of crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide. Through the flood gates of God's mercies flow a vast and gracious tide. Grace and love like mighty rivers pouring sanction from above. Heaven's peace and perfect justice kissed together to world in love. Who His love will not remember. Who can cease to sing his praise? He will never be forgotten throughout heaven's eternal
She card
day.
either on the bottom of here or there's some in the back of the.
Hello? 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 All right. Let's have a seat. What up, Normie? All right. I know, we all love each other. It's a beautiful thing. My man Jeff over here. All right. Good morning, New Beginnings. Good morning, visitors. My name is Eric. I'm the Young Adult Ministry Director here. How about that weather? It's pretty nice out, right? Sorry, small talk. I know, nobody likes it. Okay, looking ahead. So, we have a church cleanup day, Saturday, April 2nd. There'll be breakfast at 9. This is to get cleaned up for Easter service, week or two after that. I don't keep a calendar, so I don't remember when all these dates are, like Easter and everything. I know it is after that though. So, whoa. Oh, that is true. It is this Saturday. You heard the man. People better be here. Also, last week I talked about prayer and how it was important, and there wasn't a whole lot of people here last night. So this is your subtle rebuke. I'm sorry, but it's important, and it's important. Yeah. Pastor gave me thumbs up. I'm allowed to do that. All right. Also, the youth are also cleaning up, but they're cleaning up the youth room. And then once they're done, we'll also put them to work. But Crystal wrote that down in her notes. The youth are also cleaning, so you better be there. And the youth I can hunt down. All right, there is a Easter family lunch for the whole church Sunday, April 10th. It'll be put on by Loaves and Fishes immediately after service. We have a Good Friday service, Good Friday, April 15th at 6:30 p.m. And we have Fam Jam, which is also very important. I'm going to keep emphasizing that. I may be up here again before then. It's our community outreach event. It's a big thing. There'll be carnival games. There'll be food. There'll be a cakewalk, which there is a baked goods sign up for in the foyer over there. So if you're interested in making baked goods for the cakewalk, sign up and come out and help us. And also bring your kids and bring yourselves. It's going to be a fun time. And that is April 16th from 11 to 1. Finally, if you're a visitor here and you're new or you have a change of address or something, fill out one of these little connect cards on the bottom and rip it off and put it in the offering bucket or give it to somebody so we can get in touch with you and thank you for coming and all that good stuff. Now, back to worship. Everybody have a great day.
It's falling from the clouds, a strange and lovely sound. I hear it in the thunder and the rain. It's ringing in the skies like cannons in the night. The music of the universe plays. We're singing, you are holy, great and mighty. The moon and the stars declare who you are. I'm so unworthy, but still you love me. Forever my heart will sing of how great you are. beautiful and free, a song of galaxies, reaching far beyond the Milky Way. Let's join in with the sound, let's come and sing it out, the music of the universe plays. We're singing, you are holy, great and mighty, the moon and the stars declare who you are. You're so unworthy, but still you love me. Forever my heart will sing of how great you are. All glory, honor, power is yours, amen. All glory, honor, power is yours, amen. All glory, honor, power is yours, forever, amen. All glory, honor, power is yours, amen. All glory, honor, power is yours, amen. All glory, honor, power is yours, forever, amen. We're singing, you are holy, great and mighty, the moon and the stars declare who you are. So unworthy, still you love me. Forever my heart will sing of how great you are. Oh, how great you are. How great you are.
Lord, we just thank you for all that you do in our lives. Lord, we cry out to you in all things, Lord. We say, yes, I will, to what you want to do in our lives, what you want to do in this church. Lord, thank you. Thank you so much for everything. Lord, pray that we would just cast all our cares at your feet, because we can count on you, because you are always there. You are working it all out for our good. I count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. Count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. Yes, he's working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand a chance. I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against.
I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names, and nothing can stand against. And I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names, and nothing can stand against. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will.
This time I just invite the altar workers to come forward. If you want prayer for anything at this time, I encourage you, seek one of them out or seek someone who you want to pray with. Just agree with one another. Because our God is a God who answers prayer. And He wants what's best for us. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no mountain you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Sing it. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. One more time. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. No, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. I've lived stories that have proved your faithfulness, and I've seen miracles my mind can't comprehend. There is beauty in what I can't understand. Jesus, it's you. Jesus, it's you. I believe you're the wonder-working God. You're the wonder-working God. All the miracles I've seen, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God, and you heal because you love. Oh, the miracles we'll see. You're too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. And I can't resurrect a man with my own hands, but just the mention of your name can raise the dead. So all the glory to the only one who can. Jesus, it's you. Jesus, it's you. I believe you're the wonder-working God. You're the wonder-working God. All the miracles I've seen, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God, and you heal because you love. Oh, the miracles we'll see, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God. You're the wonder-working God. All the miracles I've seen, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God, and you heal because you love. Oh, the miracles we'll see, too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. After everything I've
everything I've seen. You're too good to not believe. I've seen cancer disappear, and I've seen broken bodies healed. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen real life resurrection, and I've seen mental health restored. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen families reunited, and I've seen prodigals return. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen troubled souls delivered, and I've seen addicts finally free. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. I've seen cancer disappear, and I've seen broken bodies heal. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen real life resurrection, and I've seen mental health restored. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen families reunited, and I've seen prodigals return. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. And I've seen troubled souls delivered, and I've seen addicts finally free. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. I've seen cities in revival, and salvation flood the streets. Don't you tell me he can't do it. Don't you tell me he can't do it. We'll see glory fill the nations like the world has never seen. Don't you tell me he can't do it, 'cause we know that he can. I believe you're the wonder-working God. You're the wonder-working God. All the miracles I've seen, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God, and you heal because you love. All the miracles we'll see, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God. The wonder-working God. All the miracles I see, too good to not believe. You're the wonder-working God, and you heal because you love. All the miracles we'll see, too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. Too good to not believe. After everything I've seen, you're too good to not believe.
Lord, we just thank you for all that you do in our lives. We thank you that you have all things in control. And we thank you that you are always there whenever we need you. And Lord, I pray that you would just have your way in the rest of the service today and each and every day. Just have your way in our lives. We just give it all to you. All this we pray in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, good evening. Good morning. I wish it was evening, because if it was evening, I would be in a different city. So, you know how Eli, I've said this before, sometimes when I get ready to leave on Sunday mornings, Eli wants me to tell you something. And usually, it's pretty spiritual, like Jesus loves you, and you need to listen to Jesus, and Jesus lives in your heart. Today, he said, make sure they all know that we're leaving for vacation today. You know where his mind is. So yeah, we are. You know what? Before I get started, I don't want to forget to do this. It's bold right here in my notes. First thing in my notes. So I want to make sure I do this. I mentioned this last week. We were in the process of remodeling the basement for the kids. I think the newbie tots, or whatever they're called now, the name's changed. So they are meeting downstairs actually today. It's not completely finished, but we made it safe enough for the kids to go and stick things into the light socket or the plugs and electrocute themselves. But we're gonna make it look awesome downstairs. But anybody who's in construction knows that making something look awesome also requires an awesome sized checkbook. And so some people have already mentioned to me that they would like to give, and so we're going to open it up to everybody. If you would like to give, we're going to take up a special offering next week just for the basement, and we're going to make it awesome. How awesome it is going to depend on how much money we have available to do that. And so just for you know, next week we'll take up a special offering for that. So now, back to vacation. My mind is already there. We are leaving right after service. We're going to jet on out of here. We're going to drive down to Branson. And unfortunately, we only can be gone for 2 days. When most people think about vacation, they think about leaving when? When? Friday night. Pastors don't think that way. When do pastors think about leaving? Sunday after church. Because that's kind of when our work week kind of ends. Our work week ends on Sunday after service. If you have Sunday evening service, then it makes for a long haul that night. But this is where my brain has been for the last day and a half or so. We are in the process of remodeling the basement, as we mentioned. My wife and I decided that we were going to remodel our kitchen. So now our kitchen is usable, but not finished. And so part of my brain is in the remodel the kitchen mode. Now we throw in vacation, and now my brain is go down vacation. Not to mention that I'm also thinking about preaching this morning. Our minds are very amazing things. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that nobody can really multitask. Because you can only really focus on doing one thing at a time. If you're not completely focused on what you're doing, chances are you're going to slip up somehow. But our minds are very amazing things. And it can do things that, for instance, have you seen? I was gonna get one and put it on the stage, but as I had mentioned before, there's a lot going on in my brain, and so I forgot to do this. But have you ever seen a picture where it's actually a sentence, but they removed all of the vowels and placed different letters in there? How many people have seen one of those? Yeah. Okay. How many people are able to read it? Okay, I saw some people stick up their hands to the second question that did not stick up your hands to the first question. Our brain is able to do that because of its ability to insert the proper letter there, even though it's not the one that is supposed to be there. We take out the incorrect one and we put the correct one in. That's how good our brains are. They're just amazing things. But they're also faulty things. There's also this fault within our brain. You know, I've been talking about the book of Romans, and we've been going through the book of Romans. And one of the things in the book of Romans that Paul stresses is the frailty and sinfulness within the flesh, within our bodies. And our brain, if you're not a zombie, your brain is part of your body. And so your brain has this, even your way of thinking has this flesh, this sinfulness within it. We learn at a young age. When you tell your kid not to do something, what do? They want to do it. Why? Listen, it could hurt them. You tell your kid, don't touch that mousetrap. And they touch the mousetrap, it hurts. And they cry, right? You reset the mousetrap, you tell them, don't touch that mousetrap. Guess what they'll do within 24 hours? They'll touch that mousetrap again. Why? Because you told them not to. And those of you who've learned reverse psychology, you want your kids to do something, what do? Listen, you better not go up and clean your room. If you guys get that to work, tell me how, because it doesn't work with my kid. And there's this battle going on. And while we say it's not one you see, it's not one that you technically actually engage in physically. It's a battle that we all fight. Even if you choose not to be involved in the fight, there's still a battle there. And that is the battle for your mind. And we have to learn how to win that battle. Paul talks extensively about this in a lot of ways. And what it comes down to is us being able to overcome the sinfulness that resides within our body. Our spirit is united with Christ. Christ being perfect, our spirit has the ability to be perfect. But our flesh gets in the way. Our body gets in the way. Our mind gets in the way. And so we have to figure out, how do we win this battle? How can we get our minds to think the way our spirit should live? Paul knew this. In Romans chapter 7, he says, the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I don't want to do, I do. And I agree that what I do that I don't want to do is sin living in this body. So we have this struggle within us, but it's not just a struggle within us, it's a struggle that is outside of us. Because we have peer pressure. We have things that other people want us to do. Romans chapter 10, 2 Corinthians, chapter 10, verses 1 through 3 says this: For though we walk in the flesh, we do not wage war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. You've probably heard, if you know this verse, you understand what a stronghold is. It's something that is strong that holds you. Hence, stronghold. What does he mean by strongholds? I think he gives us a clear picture if you just continue reading. He says, casting down arguments, that's a mental thing, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, that's a mental thing. Bringing every thought, a mental thing, into captivity to the obedience of Christ. obviously if you could get your mind to behave the way that God wants it to, which is overcoming the sinful desires that your mind says, hey, this would be pleasant, let's do this. If you could get somehow control of your mind, your body will follow suit. The same way that if we give our hearts to God, He will empower us to control our minds. But we have to rely on that power. Romans chapter 12. We're going to read the first 3 verses. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. Okay, I want to emphasize something that I talked about last week. We have a spirit and we have a body. Our spirit, when we give our lives, when we give our obedience, our servitude to Jesus, when we accept what He's done for us, He has our spirit. Paul is saying, now that He has our spirit, what do? Now we take our bodies and we give our bodies to Him as living sacrifices. A sacrifice was something that was killed for the purpose of offering it to God. Paul's saying your bodies are to be living sacrifice, no longer yours. When the Israelites offered a sacrifice to God, guess what? It no longer was theirs. It became God's, and God could do with it whatever He wanted. That is what Paul's saying here. You offer yourself not as a dead sacrifice, but as a living sacrifice, so that God could have His way within you. And if you do that, there will be benefits for that. So offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing and acceptable to God. This is truly the way to worship Him. The word worship there can actually mean not just worship, but service. We have this idea of worship as coming to church and raising our hands into singing songs to pray, singing songs of praise to God. We think of that when we think of worship. Sometimes we think of a worship service where we go and we sing songs and we sit and let the pastor put us to sleep. But the idea of worship is much more than just sitting and singing songs or listening to a message. It is actually the idea of service. Not a service like a worship service. Service as in what you do. The Israelites understood this. When God said, I want you to worship me, their worship was entwined with the sacrifices that they made. And that worship was a service. It was what they did for God. So the idea, while worship is not an incorrect way of thinking about this, but it's more about rethinking our way of understanding worship it is your spiritual act of service to God, which when you service God, guess what you also do? When you serve God, you also worship God. Verse 2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourself, measuring yourself by the faith God has given us. Have you ever made a mistake? And then somebody put you in your place? You know what's even worse than that? Is when you just get done telling them how good you are at whatever it was you were doing. I love golf, right? My wife loves me so much that she is allowing me to spend most of one day on our vacation to go play in a golf tournament. And this is the first day of my wife's birthday week. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeanette. Happy birthday to you. I'm going to pay for that one. One of the things that I like to do is I like to golf, and I really think I'm good at it until I play with somebody who is good at it. And I've done this. I hit some pretty good shots, and I hit a good shot, and it flies, it lands on the green. It's like 15 yards from the cup. I mean, it's a long ways away, but still, I'm on the green. And then the guy I'm playing with hits it, and he's like 5 feet from the cup. And he consistently does this. I played with a guy that, I think if he would have taken lessons, he probably could have made some money playing golf. But before we started playing, he asked me how good I was. Don't lie about it, just be honest. I could have said, yeah, I'm not very good, I suck. I could have said that. Can I say that word, suck, on that? I'm sorry. I'm not very good. I could have said that. I said, I can hold my own. I can hold my own. And he showed me that I couldn't hold my own. But we do this because we think our brains have this way of causing us sometimes to think that we're a little bit better at something than we are. And while in golf and pride before the fall whole thing is not a big deal, there comes a point in our lives where that kind of thinking can be spiritually detrimental. And we're going to look at that. We need to understand that if we want our minds to unite with our spirit, and our spirit being united with Christ, to live and take this body under control, making it a living sacrifice, we have to realize that it's not us that does it. Because our minds are crazy. They just are. They're crazy. So, when I was in high school, I went through the same phase that almost every other teenager went through, and it's called the acne stage. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands if you've been through it, because that's just, And I was blessed that it only lasted a short period of time. It didn't last very long for me. Some people, they fought with that their whole high school, career. But I remember one day I had already passed through that phase. I was, later, senior year in high school, and I woke up that morning, and it just happened to be picture day. I woke up that morning, and I had, no lie, Mount Everest tattooed right here on my forehead. You ever have that happen? You wake up, you're going to meet somebody special today. You're going for that job interview. If you're a teenager, you're going on your first date. And you wake up with Mount Everest. we see this, and it ruins your whole morning. If you are a woman, or if you are a smart man, because I equate women and smart men on the same level, you will go and you will get makeup and you will hide it. Makeup, man, it can cover a lot of flaws. And yes, since I've been here, my wife doesn't know this, I have covered up imperfections on my face Sunday morning before I came to preach. And I'm not going to tell you what day that is. That happens, and when it happened to me, and if it's ever happened to you, all you're thinking about is what? This thing on your forehead. Man, I got pictures today, and I have this. Everybody's going to see it. Now, technology today, even back when I got my senior pictures taken, technology allows you to remove it. So the pictures aren't that big. But if you're going to see somebody in person, man, poof, there it is. You know what? Most of the people that you come in contact with that day are not even going to know it's there. Even if you don't cover it up with makeup. Why? Because our brains over-exaggerate. Think back if you're married, before you got married, and you started liking that special someone, or maybe you're a teenager and you like that special someone. And before you actually started dating, how did you feel when you saw them? Elated. It's like, wow, this. And all of that disappears when they see you and they don't say anything to you. Oh, Lord. She doesn't like me anymore. What am I going to do? I thought she was going to acknowledge me. I thought she was going to say something to me. And you think about that goes over and over and over and over in your mind. And then you find out that the reason she didn't acknowledge you wasn't because she didn't like you, it's because she didn't see you. You know what our minds do? Our minds lie to us. Our minds lie to us. They make us believe something that isn't true. And why is that? It's because our minds are part of our body, and our body is sinful. If you go through the Bible, you find in several different places, the Bible talks about the mind being confused, the mind being anxious or closed, talks about the mind being evil, talks about the mind being deluded. In the New Testament, you find that there is a troubled mind, a depraved mind, a sinful mind, a dull mind. I love that, a dull mind. You know what that is? That's an easy way of saying stupid. I'm going to start saying that now. Instead of calling people stupid, I'm going to call them dull. A blinded mind and a corrupt mind. This is how the Bible views, this is how God views our mind. We are already losing this battle. You are already losing this battle if you have not taken the step to start the fight. So I got a call from Jeanette. I told her I was going to share this story, so I got a call from Jeanette. Was it Friday, I think? Friday, she called me. Hi, how you doing? Oh, I said hello. She said, hi. I said, what's up? I just need to talk to you. Okay. No, I just need to hear your voice. She didn't say that, but that's what she meant. I just needed to know you're okay. I'm thinking to myself, is she okay? So what's up? And she I think she started crying at this point, or a little later she started crying. What had happened is she works She works for State Farm in insurance, and she specializes in life insurance. And so a woman had called her whose husband had just passed away, and he just happened to be close to my age. And it just struck her a certain way. I'm pretty healthy. I think I'm going to live for a little while longer. But what our mind will do, it will lead us to a place we shouldn't go. Where she was surrounded by fear, the fear of loss. What was she going to do if I was no longer here? How would she survive? Listen, she keeps saying that she wants me to die first. And I keep saying you should have married somebody younger. And that's okay, and that's fine, but she wants that because of fear of the unknown. And that's where fear rests, in the unknown. But our minds will play a trick on us. They will lie to us because our minds are established within our physical body, which is built, has a nature for sin. It was not built to sin. It was built to live in paradise, just like Adam and Eve were built to live in paradise forever in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was Earth's idea of heaven. The only difference is that there was one thing they couldn't do in the Garden of Eden. In heaven, everything you do, you'll do to please God. Because of their sin, now we all have this sinful nature within us. And that is where the fight is. Our spirit united with Christ and our sinful nature, which is controlled by a sinful mind. So how do we overcome? How do we do this? We understand first that we don't believe everything we think because our mind will lie to us. The second thing that we have to do is guard your mind from garbage. How many people have heard that old garbage in, garbage out? Right? Do you guys know where that came from? Anybody? Yeah. When computers were being early in their production, a programmer came up with that. Because the computer is only going to spit out what you put in. He said all faulty programming is going to end with faulty outcomes. And if you have a faulty outcome, guess what? It was because whatever was put into that computer was faulty. But it's a general rule across the whole world. For the most part, if you put garbage in, you're going to get some type of garbage out. Think about, for instance, your health. You know, they say that, and I've read this in several different places, that there are three really categories of food that you can eat, or that you can put in your body. One of them is growth food. And growth food is just simply food that helps you grow. It's healthy food, for lack of a better word. Fruits and vegetables. We all need to be eating more of that. Growth food. The second one is junk food. Now, junk food in and of itself is not going to kill you. It has almost no nutritional value whatsoever. But chances are, unless it's all you eat and you eat it for a long period of time, it's probably not going to kill you. And then there is toxic food. And toxic food is things, if you eat it, it will kill you. If you drink it, it will kill you. Now, that is a wide spectrum. all the healthy food's way up here, all the toxic food's way down here, and the junk food is right here. And food are not in one of those. They're usually in between some of those. Junk food can be toxic food if that's all you eat. You'll probably die of unnatural causes if all you eat is junk food. But junk food in and of itself, every once in a while, is not going to kill you. It's not going to help you, but it's not going to kill you. And this is where we have to grapple with our flesh and our mind. And that is, if you want good things to come out of your life, you have to put good things in your life. And that includes your mind. Let's say you go to church twice a week. And let's say 2 hours. Our Wednesday service is usually only about an hour, but let's say 2 hours for each service. So you have 4 hours a week in which you are putting good things into your mind. And that's assuming you don't read your Bible during the week, which hopefully all of you do. Assuming you don't listen to other sermons during the week. That's a good idea too. Praying is a good idea. But assuming you don't do those things and you only go to church, so you spend 4 hours of putting good stuff in your body or in your mind, and then you spend, let's just say 8 hours, 5 days, 40 hours at work with people who cuss, who tell rude jokes, 4 hours of good stuff into your body and 40 hours of bad stuff into your body, which one do you think is going to come out? Now, I know this is a very vague illustration, but it just goes to show that I've talked with a lot of people as a pastor who, I ask them straightforward, how much time do you spend in prayer? I try and do about 30 minutes a day. Oh, good. How much time do you watch TV? Oh, probably a couple hours a night. Well, what kind of shows do you watch? Do you watch godly shows? Oh, no, I mean, I have CSI or, The Bachelor. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you watch The Bachelor, don't tell me. Don't tell me, okay? I'm gonna be real with you, because I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else. I'm gonna get on. I'm just gonna go. I'm not even gonna go there. Don't expect a society to commit to one person for a lifetime when you give them 10 options on who they want to be with. 20, whatever, I don't know. I don't watch it. There's a reason why I don't watch it. So, but here's the thing. How can we grow in God? Truly grow in God, will we have more garbage coming into our life than we have good stuff? Now again, I'm not saying that a TV show is going to ruin your spiritual life. Okay? I view some of those TV shows like junk food. Okay? They're not good for you, but they're not going to kill you. But what happens if you eat too much junk food? It will eventually kill you. You don't survive off of junk food. It's a treat every once in a while. You survive off of the healthy food that you eat. And it's our minds are the same way. If we survive off of junk mental stuff, it will eventually kill our spiritual life. I never was a big fan of horror flicks. And now I grew up in the 80s where Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, all those wonderful people, I'm using that word term loosely, and they never really scared me, because I first of all, I don't really scare that easily, but I understood that TV was 100% false. But I do know this, that if you continually watch fear, guess what grows in your life? Now, is watching one horror flick going to produce a bunch of fear in your life? No. We have to be careful. We have to be very careful about what we allow into our lives. And I get it. I get it. I was in construction for many years. I know how they talk. I know the things that most of them talk about. And, you know, a lot of them knew that I was only in construction a short period of time, and that I was a pastor. I had been a pastor, and I hoped to one. Do you think that stopped them? No, they still did it. They just said, "Oh, I'm sorry," afterward. Which they didn't really mean, because if they had meant it, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Is your spiritual life living on junk food? Or even toxic food? Or is your spiritual life, are you consuming a healthy thought life? Here's a nugget of truth for you. Ask yourself how God can answer your prayer for loving other people if you are watching TV, if you continually watch a TV built on hate. God, give me your peace, and yet you love to consume horror shows that are built with fear. You cannot have fear and peace at the same time. It doesn't happen. You ask God for something and He wants to give it to you, and then you do the exact opposite of what you're asking Him for. Our minds, we have to control what goes in our minds. Because if we allow garbage in, we're going to get garbage out. So, what can we do? What can we do? What kind of practical things can we do to help us win this battle for the mind? To help us overcome the lies that sometimes our mind will tell us, to help us overcome the garbage that we want to bring in because it's enjoyable. Listen, sitting on the couch with a big old bag of M&Ms right next to me, watching TV. Okay? This is so nice, just brainless TV and calorie-filled M&Ms. And a cup of coffee. Let me tell you, that is enjoyable. And while it's not going to kill me to do that, it is not healthy for me either. Paul talks about things being permissible and being beneficial. Not everything is going to kill you, but not everything is going to make you grow either. And you have to determine in your life what God wants you to do. And it is not going to happen by accident. God, I need to lose 10 pounds. Okay, God, help me lose 10 pounds. Oh, 6:30. I see, I don't have to be at work until 8, so, oh God, I could get up and go work out. God, help me lose 10 pounds. You're fighting against God. And He wants to help you, but you have an obligation, you have a responsibility. And one of those responsibilities, especially for the battle of your mind, is simply never let up on learning. Never let up on learning. If you think that you will ever reach a time on this earth where you do not need to learn, then you are by nature saying you know everything you need to know. And in that, you are living in pride. Because what you're saying is that there's nothing left for you to learn. You have reached the pinnacle of what you need to know. So learning is important. And what we need to do is understand that learning is not a one-step thing. We like to think that learning is, if all I got to do is read a book, and the books are good. I heard a while ago that most successful CEOs read a book a month. A book a month. If you're like me, you have a hard time reading a book a year. Now, part of my job requires a lot of reading. I do a lot of research, so there's a lot of reading. And I enjoy reading. But it's not easy, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a very slow reader. I read a chapter, and my wife is done with the book. But it doesn't stop me. Why? Because I understand that reading is important. Knowledge is important. But knowledge is not the end of learning. There's kind of 5 levels of learning. The first one is knowledge. We need knowledge. Okay? If it wasn't for knowledge, you wouldn't know how to walk or drive a car or any of these things. Knowledge is the basis. It's where you start. You get knowledge. Whether it's reading a book, whether it's listening to an audiobook, knowledge. But it doesn't stop there. Knowledge is not the end of it all, because knowledge puffs up. The next thing we have is we need to have God's perspective on things. Wisdom. That's what this is, wisdom. Knowledge is knowing what. Wisdom is knowing why or how. And so we have knowledge, and then we have the proper perspective. And just getting knowledge does you no good if you're not using it from a perspective that will help you. So you have knowledge and you have perspective, but it can't stop there. Because knowing something and knowing how to use something doesn't do any good if you don't have a conviction that forces you to live by it. I talk about convictions all the time. Because conviction, it's a belief. Conviction is a belief in the truth. So you have knowledge, that you know something, you know why, and then your conviction makes it personal to you. Most of you could care less about swinging a golf club. You could care less about it. You can learn, you can know the knowledge, you can know why it's important, but for you, it's not a conviction because you're never going to use it. For me, on the other hand, it's a conviction. It's important to me. It's truth to me. But it doesn't have to stop there. It has to build character. Character. Character is the application of the knowledge, perspective, and conviction that you have. character. A person who has character, you talk about somebody who has character, that means they have integrity. They are people who say what they're going to do and do what they say they're going to do. They're people who are not swayed by other people's opinion. They have proved themselves. Conviction has not yet proved yourself. Character proves that your convictions that you're holding are true. But it doesn't stop there either. The last stage of not giving up on learning and never let up on the learning is what we're going to call skill. One of the things that I tell our ministry staff, all of our ministry leaders, one of the things that I tell them that I want them to continually do is called perfecting your craft. The worship team, I want them to perfect their leading in worship. The youth pastor, perfect teaching students to become men and women of God. Young adult leader, men's ministry leader, women's ministry leader. That's what skill is. Skill is not just knowing knowledge, it's not just knowing how to apply knowledge, it's not just having a conviction, and it's not just acting on it, it's making it the best it possibly can be. But you know what? None of that's going to happen if you sit, and one of my dad's favorite terms, you probably have all heard this, if you sit on your rear end all day watching the boob tube. Again, I'm not trying to knock television and say everything on there is garbage. What I'm saying is, where's your priority when it comes to this? When it comes to this battle? I'm going to ask a couple of the worship members to come up, and we're going to have a little bit of time of prayer. We all struggle. We all have a lot of struggles, actually. We have, the older I get, the more I have a struggle with maintaining the weight that I want to be at. I used to be super skinny. When I was in high school, I was super skinny. Even into college, I started lifting weights, so I bulked up a little bit. Then I got out of college, and I could pretty much keep the same weight, although I did gain some weight. It wasn't until I turned 40, 45-ish that I couldn't eat what I used to eat. It required a lot more exercise to maintain the weight that I wanted to be at. And if we don't be careful, we allow our minds to ruin our spiritual life. We'll be spiritually that large overweight person who can't get out of their bed. And there's no reason why we need to be in that place spiritually. The only way we get there is by not putting in effort. God has given us everything we need. He's given us the knowledge. He'll give you the wisdom. He'll give you the ability. But it's your responsibility. I know there's a lot of talk about mental illness, and I know mental illness is a real thing. And there are two categories of mental illness, really. One of them is a chemical imbalance. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain, where your brain either your body does not produce enough of something, or it produces too much of something within your body, and it affects your brain's ability. And really, apart from a miracle from God, the only thing for that mental illness, the only thing you can do is supplement chemicals into your body to help regulate that. But there's another type of mental illness, and this has nothing to do with chemicals. This mental illness is called sin. And it runs rampant in people. It's more about behavior than it is anything else. Some of it is because people were not taught to live a certain way. And sometimes it was because they were taught to do things, whether purposefully or not, they were taught to do things that weren't right. The only answer to this type of mental illness is an intervention from God. It's the only thing that's going to change, because our bodies, our minds are prone to sin. It's only going to take the one who committed no sin, who died on the cross, who rose again. It's only going to take that person is the only one who's going to be able to enable us to overcome this mental illness. Verse 2, Romans chapter 12. Do not copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. If you want God to change the way you think, if you want God to transform you, now's the time to let Him do it. I'm going to have the worship team, and they're going to lead us in this song. And as I was thinking about this song, it talks about God's relentless love for us. But it's time for us to have that same kind of love for God. That we're willing to abandon everything that we value here on earth, everything that we think is important, to give it up to find the one and only who can make us whole. If you're struggling with something, cry out to God. If you know somebody who needs a touch in their mind, in the way of their thinking, cry out to God for them. Maybe you just realize that you've been spending way too much time consuming mental junk food and not enough time consuming godly influence. Cry out to God. They're gonna sing this. The altars are going to be open. Let's not leave here until God has done something in you. Because it doesn't do you any good to come in here and leave the same way you came.
For I spoke a word, you've seen over me. You have been so, so good to me. For I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Oh, I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. No, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. No, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
We all go through times in our life where we struggle, where we question, where we doubt. For us, the key isn't not facing those things, but being victorious when we face those things. Let me give you some helpful, some practical things that you can do to counteract the influence, the negative influence that other people might have on you. As I said before, some of you guys work in situations where you hear bad stuff most of the day. But there's something that you can do that will help counteract that. Every time somebody says something that is negative, whether they cuss, whether they crude joke, something like that, what you can do, instead of just, because maybe you can't get away from it, but that doesn't mean that you have to let the enemy win. Why don't you just start praying? Wow, there's a novel idea. Instead of letting your ears and your mind be filled with what they're saying, you just start praying. I guarantee you start praying out loud. Oh yeah. Why do we need to be fearful of praying out loud around people who don't believe in God? You know what we're doing there? We're letting the enemy win. And if you're scared that they're going to persecute you for your faith, guess what? It just means you get to be more like Jesus, because that's exactly what they did to him. Maybe in the evenings you need to decide, we're going to put the remote over here. We're going to go sit around the table, and we're just going to talk about a Bible story. Or maybe at lunchtime, you're going to sit, instead of sitting around the table with other people, you're just going to go find a quiet place, and you're just going to read some of the Bible. Or you're going to just spend time. Or maybe instead of listening to that secular station on the way to work, you're going to listen to worship music. Listen, there's a wide variety of things that you can do to start changing the way you think. Yeah, but Pastor Steve, you know, those secular artists, they have all the good music. That's a whole nother sermon that I don't want to get into, but what's more important? Feeding the flesh or feeding the spirit? Denying what might be a good music for the sake of God? How could you lose on that? I'm going to close in prayer. Don't leave here without making a decision to change. Without making a decision. Every one of us, even myself, has to make a decision to change. So as I close in prayer, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of something specific. And I just named a couple of them, but think of something specific that you can change in your life. For everybody, it's going to be different. Think of something specific you can change in your life that is going to help you win the battle of the mind, that's going to feed healthy, spiritually healthy food into your mind instead of junk food. Something very specific. And then this week, go out and work on it and do it. And here's what's the amazing thing. more you do it, the more you want to do it. The more you do it, the easier it'll be. But it starts with making a decision and then relying on God's power to live it out. Heavenly Father, we are in this battle. We are in this fight. The battle for the mind. The enemy pulls us away. Our own sinful desires pull us away. But we ask right now that you would give us strength. Speak to each person here individually. Speak to them on a change that they can make, a simple change that they can make in their lives that will help them be victorious in the battle of the mind. And then help them grow in that and take more ground that the enemy has taken from them. Give them something specific. Give them a specific time, a place, an activity that they can change in their life to win, to become a spiritual sacrifice that is living wholeheartedly after you, that you find pleasing. Thank you. We love you. Now send us out with your victory in hand. We ask all of this in your name. And everyone say, amen. Love you guys. Be blessed. And honestly, I'm going on vacation, so I won't be thinking about you.